10 spread COVID-19 about half as much as adults, but children above the age of 10 can spread the virus at the same rate as adults. Researchers suggest children may be even more likely to spread the virus at home after schools reopen. Florida's largest teachers union files a lawsuit to overturn the state's emergency order forcing schools to open for in-person classes next month. Florida is dealing with a significant surge in coronavirus cases, reporting upwards of 10,000 new cases today alone. In Arizona and Wisconsin, teachers are protesting in-person instruction. High school sports are officially delayed. CIF, the governing body of high school sports in California, made that announcement today as students get ready for an online semester. The first competitions are now scheduled to take place at the end of December. Our Olivia Sandusky is live now from La Quinta High School. She has reaction from athletes and coaches. Olivia.
Daytona, if you're eager to watch some high school football, you're going to have to wait until January of 2021. That's what the CIF announced today. I did speak to some local athletes and athletic directors as well. They tell me they don't mind the delay that much as long as it means they will be able to play their sport eventually this season. High school athletes are waiting for these sights and sounds to return in the coming school year, and the CIF just released an outline of what it might look like.
The processes for determining whether or not kids are allowed back on campus have not changed at all. The CIF office has just put a framework in place that we can plan for, that hopefully kids are allowed by that time.
The sports calendar is now broken down into 2 seasons instead of 3. The fall will have football, boys and girls cross country, volleyball, and water polo. Spring includes sports like basketball, golf, baseball, softball, and swimming. Start dates have been delayed as well, with football season beginning in January, potentially impacting dual athletes.
It's going to be different because usually I have like the break going into baseball. But now I have to, if we make a far run into football for playoffs, I have to transition over really quickly into baseball. But I think it's going to be nicer because it's not going to be as hot over summer. The workouts are going to feel better and stuff like that.
And some athletic directors say the schedule also poses logistical issues.
We share a pool with Cathedral City High School. So we're going to have boys and girls water polo together in the same season for 2 schools at the same pool.
We're already busy when you have 3 full sports, but now, with supervision and busing and transportation, and it's going to be pretty challenging.
While the new schedule doesn't guarantee sports will be taking place, many athletes remain hopeful this season will happen.
I've just been waiting to come back, show the Valley what I could do, really, and what our whole team could do.
CIF representatives say this is the plan for now, but they're monitoring the guidelines released by the state's health department. They say they will make adjustments to all of that calendar if necessary. Reporting live in La Quinta, Olivia Sandusky, NBC Palm Springs.
All right, thank you, Olivia. New details tonight about the inmate who escaped an Indio jail this weekend. Officials confirmed that Angel Alaman was released from jail in April due to COVID-19 overcrowding concerns. Alaman escaped from the John Benoit Detention Center on Saturday afternoon, leading deputies on a nearly 5-hour search. He's now back in custody. Alaman was originally arrested for grand theft the day before he escaped after allegedly stealing a bank deposit bag with $140,000 from an armored vehicle. It's unclear how he escaped the jail.
Show me your papers.
Could you move away?
No, I want to see your papers.
You want to see my papers?
Yes.
Your immigration.
It's a video that went viral. A resident of a housing complex in Rancho Mirage harassing a landscaper, asking to see his immigration papers multiple times. Rancho Mirage officials say they have completed an investigation into the incident, telling the Desert Sun it was an isolated event. The city attorney says, quote, action will be taken. Parkview Villas property managers are reportedly conducting another investigation, which could ultimately end in the woman being evicted. This Saturday may be the last time more than 25 million people who are unemployed see a $600 weekly check from Washington. That's unless Congress acts fast. But the parties seem miles apart from a COVID stimulus compromise. The House already passed their version of a bill. It's $3 trillion and includes hazard pay for healthcare workers and another round of stimulus checks. Republicans say they won't spend more than $1 trillion. All right, let's take a look at the latest COVID-19 numbers from Riverside County and the entire Coachella Valley. The county doesn't report numbers on weekends, so these are as of Friday. Over 1,200 new cases were reported in Riverside County today, 870 of those in the Coachella Valley. Only one new death was reported in the county from the Coachella Valley. For some perspective, take a look at this graph right here from Riverside County Public Health. This shows each day's reported cases. That spike you see is from 2 weeks ago when we set new daily case records multiple times. With that, let's get a check on your AccuWeather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Mike Everett. It's the Everett Show, Mike. What's up?
Hey, Daytona Everett. How you doing? We saw temperatures that were 3 degrees cooler than they were on Sunday. A weak trough pushed on shore, put us back to 113 today. Still well above average by 5 degrees there, but nowhere near the record of 118 set back in 1978 and again in 1964. 80 is what we achieved in the overnight hours, 2 degrees above average there as well. But I got some really good news for you as far as July weather goes. I'll tell you about that in a moment. We backed off 1 degree, 112 currently at Palm Springs International. Had that easterly push through the day. It's going to get gusty tonight, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but a small price to pay for what will be some remarkably cooler temperatures. Humidity sitting around 10%. It's warm, it's dry, but it's not bad out there. Now, here's what's happening in the big picture. We've got a low pressure system that looks like it's going to form right off the coast. What that means for us is it will keep the flow on shore, pulls temperatures back. I'll show you those numbers in a moment, but it also keeps all that monsoonal moisture that we often see this time of year way off into Arizona, New Mexico, Utah. We'll even see some afternoon thunderstorms firing up there. Colorado gets in on the act as well. We are on the dry side of that, and we'll stay that way through the rest of the week. So here's what we're looking at as we go through the next 3 days. They're brought to you by Comfort Air. We'll dial it back slightly on Tuesday, a little more on Wednesday, and we're going below average on Thursday. It looks like we get to stay there for a couple days. I'll give you the details and show you your full forecast coming up.
All right, thank you, Mike. One man is in custody for attempted murder after a 7-year-old little boy was brutally attacked in Desert Hot Springs. Kitty Alvarado spoke with the man who found him laying unconscious in the street. She joins us live from Desert Hot Springs, where it all happened. Kitty.
Daytona, this community is absolutely devastated and in shock that anyone could hurt this little boy. This little boy is so beloved in this neighborhood. He was only walking home from a pool party just a few houses down from where he lived when he was brutally attacked.
This is 7-year-old Gavin Ludwig just 6 months ago, and this is him now. He's in the hospital recovering from a brutal attack.
This attack, again, was deliberate and very vicious.
Desert Hot Springs Police Deputy Chief Steve Shaw says little Gavin was on his way home from a neighbor's house on Saturday evening on Vista del Valle when out of nowhere he was attacked by 32-year-old Daniel Birch Polson.
This is an innocent child walking home after a fun day at the pool. Doesn't look like there was any type of verbal confrontation or anything like this. This looks like a completely random attack. Based on what we're seeing, the child may not have even seen the attack coming.
Arturo Delgado was on his way to grab dinner when he noticed little Gavin lying face down on the street next to the sidewalk. He ran over to help him.
And I said, "Hey, Gavin." And when I turned him over, I noticed that there was damage on his right side of his head. I called his name out and he started to cry. I was in shock by that point because I couldn't believe what was happening. So I picked him up, ran to his house, and I knocked on the door. The family was shocked.
They called 911. Gavin's injuries were so severe, he was airlifted to Loma Linda Medical Center. Police found the suspect hiding in the neighborhood at 1:30 Sunday morning and arrested him for attempted murder. Arturo and his family have known little Gavin since he was a baby. Arturo's dad, Carlos, had a special bond with him. It was hard for him to talk about little Gavin without breaking down.
It broke your heart.
See, the kiss is very, very special.
Every neighbor we spoke with says Gavin is a sweet little boy. They're in shock something like this could happen on their street by one of their neighbors to a little boy they all love.
It's horrific. It's unconscionable to think that some person, anybody, would intentionally harm a little child, a defenseless child.
And really want Gavin to come back the way he was, energetic, outspoken, smart.
And is being held on $1 million bail. The Desert Hot Springs Police Department tells me that the important piece of evidence that may help them identify him was home surveillance footage. They're also asking anyone if they have any other additional information or surveillance footage to contact their department. And now last we heard, little Gavin was in stable condition but still critical. They say that the next 3 days will be very critical in his recovery. We're all rooting for you, little Gavin. Reporting live from Desert Hot Springs, Kitty Alvarado, NBC Palm Springs.
Coronavirus coverage brought to you by East Valley COVID-19 testing site, serving residents of eastern Coachella Valley.
A coronavirus vaccine in the UK is showing promising results so far. Oxford scientists say their vaccine prompted a protective immune response in hundreds of people who received the injection, and that immunity may last as long as 2 months. The World Health Organization says it welcomes the results, but wants to temper excitement over the positive results. The WHO says it's just the first phase, and there's still a lot to be done. A Navy veteran beaten in the streets of Portland by unidentified federal officers. He says he only wanted to ask a simple question, but he was met with a baton and tear gas. We'll hear his story after the break. Plus, an update on the fatal shooting of a federal judge's family. We're told the suspect posed as a FedEx delivery driver. The latest after the break.
When we welcome our viewers here on the West Coast, we'll hear from volunteers who took part in the trial of a coronavirus vaccine, why it's creating such excitement and when it could be ready. Also, our exclusive with New York's governor on his mission to Georgia to help fight the virus. When we see you for Nightly News.
The Trump administration is preparing to send federal agents to Chicago this week. Law enforcement sources say the agents will focus on illegal gun sales, gun violence, and outstanding warrants. The effort appears to be separate from the federal presence in Portland, Oregon. Over the weekend in Portland, unidentified federal officers were seen on camera apprehending people and putting them in unmarked vans. Well, the city of Portland has been rocked by more than 50 straight nights of protests. A violent incident caught on camera camera involving a 53-year-old Navy veteran went viral on social media. He says he came to ask federal officers a simple question and was answered with a beating and tear gas. Jennifer Dowling has that story.
This is the video that's capturing the nation's attention this weekend. Shot by Tribune reporter Zane Sparling, it shows Chris David, a Navy vet, being struck repeatedly by federal law enforcement officers outside the courthouse building.
I stood there with my hands down by my sides, and they just started wailing on me.
Chris said he'd taken the bus downtown to attend the protest and wanted to ask federal officers a specific question.
And I stood in the street in front of them, and I started asking them if they thought it was okay to violate their oath of Constitution.
Chris says one of the men shoved him backwards.
Where I lose balance and fall backwards a little bit and then plant myself. That's right when they start beating me. They kept hitting me with batons, and I think they decided that wasn't going to work, so they just 2 pepper spray hits I think I took, and that ended that. That was not fun. So I flipped them off, and then I walked to the corner of the park as best I could, and I was losing my vision, and I was just walking through a giant cloud of CS gas.
Chris said he sat on a park bench and a field medic named Tav came to his rescue, guiding him to someone's car.
I couldn't see it all. I could just see sort of shapes. That's it, just really vague shapes. Tav was trying to frantically get an ambulance to meet us there.
Chris says they were able to flag down EMTs and he went to the hospital. He says his hand is fractured and will require surgery. He says since fellow grads from the academy and other vets have seen the video, they've been sending messages of support.
And I got out after about 8 years as a lieutenant. All of these academy grads are reaching out. Oh, class of 91 over here.
Lots of people are calling Chris a hero or the Superman of Portland online. This is what he had to say.
You know, they're playing me up as an Iron Man and a Superman, and that's not at all what I'm a 53-year-old overweight man on blood thinners, and I've got a lot of physical damage from my time in the military. I'm not made of steel at all. They could have killed me last night, as my ex-wife and my daughter have reminded me 45 times this morning.
That was Jennifer Dowling reporting. The search for a man police believe shot and killed the son of a federal judge is over. Investigators in New Jersey say the suspect appears to have died by suicide. The fatal shooting happened yesterday. Police say the suspect posed as a FedEx delivery driver. When Judge Esther Salas's son answered that door, he was shot and killed. The judge's husband was also shot and injured. The judge was just assigned to a financial fraud case tied to the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. We'll be right back after the break, but first, Mike.
Hi, Daytona. We've had a lot to process so far in this show. I've got some phenomenal news as far as the weather goes when we come back. Stick around. Welcome back. Well, here we are in the 2/3 of the way through July. Today's July 20th, and we are doing very well. We've only hit 120 degrees once, which, by the way, we've done only once every summer since I've been here. We hit 120 once last summer, 120 the summer before that, and it's gorgeous out there. High pressure across the region is keeping those skies blue, keeping us breezy in the afternoons. We've got some good news coming your way. I was telling you about that as we were going into the commercial break. Normally this time of year, we're talking about this massive ridge of high pressure that's parked out over the Pacific. It's going to be hot. It's going to be dry. It's going to be windy. We're going to get some monsoonal flow. Nothing like that is happening. In fact, we've got a low pressure system that's forming off the coast here that's going to keep that flow onshore. What that means for us is it keeps all the monsoonal moisture, as I mentioned earlier, well off into the Four Corners region, keeps us warm and dry, and keeps the flow coming in from the west, so we don't get any of that easterly flow that can bring, that salt and smell up in our direction. Doesn't look like that's going to be happening. I'll tell you what it looks like in the big picture in just a moment here. Let's touch on what we did today. Now, yesterday was a warm one. 116 is what we achieved on Sunday. 113 is what we got today, so some light onshore flow already helping us out there. 108 is the 30-year average. Keep that number in mind because that's going to be important in a moment. 80 is what we did in the overnight. 78 is the 30-year average. 62 is the record set back in 1924. That will never happen again. So here's what we're looking at in Futurecast. You can see kind of that counterclockwise flow just setting up right off the coast there. And again, that pushes moisture and cooler air in off the ocean, keeps all of that nastiness well off towards the east, and keeps us in a really sweet spot. A second system is going to build on that and take numbers down as we go into the second half of the week. As far as watches and warnings go, well, it's hot, it's dry. We've got red flag warnings and fire advisories in place through most of the Intermountain West. It's gusty in the Pacific Northwest as well, and it's warm in southern Washington and northern Oregon. Here's what we're taking a look at. Temperatures across North America. Tomorrow, 77 in Toronto. Wow. 92 in New York, 86 in Miami, 108 in Phoenix, very similar to what we're seeing. And then look up and down the West Coast. 67 in San Francisco because they get the fog, but 87 in Portland, 82 in Seattle, and 77 is your number in Vancouver. Current temperatures right now, it started off with some marine layer cloud cover this morning along the coast. That pushed back, currently 75 in LA, 72 in San Diego. That's what onshore flow does. It's wonderful there right now. 111 in Palm Springs. Looks like our hot spot is at Havasu at 112, but they've got boats and beer. That'll be fine. 100 in Phoenix and 109 in Yuma. Future winds, well, that's going to be a thing through the rest of the week. We'll see those gust up, get to about 30, 40, maybe even 50 miles an hour by the time we get to Wednesday. But again, it's all onshore wind. We'll take it. In the early morning hours, it all switches back around to the east, and we'll repeat that process for about another 60 days or so. Temperatures will be very slow to cool tonight. In fact, by the time you join us again at 11, it'll be 93. We'll finally break into the mid-80s overnight, and we're going to try real hard to get ourselves in the upper 70s overnight. That's what dry air does for us. 111 is what we'll do tomorrow. Again, a couple degrees cooler than today, and certainly nothing like we saw over the weekend. Dew points will ride that upper 40s, lower 50s. That'll be about 10-15% humidity. 111 is going to be a very popular number tomorrow from Palm Springs through Indio. Look for 112 in Palm Desert, 103 in Joshua Tree, 80 up in Big Bear, and 100 in Cabazon. Here we go. You ready? Your Comfort Air 7-day forecast shows that onshore flow on Thursday, taking us down to 106 on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Remember, the average for this time of year is 108. So as far as July in the desert goes, we're crushing it.
A restaurant in Northern California is turning away people for not wearing a mask. The restaurant has a sign posted out front stating its position clearly: no social conditioning, no oxygen deprivation mask, no latex, dirty germ spreader. County officials say restaurants like this will soon start getting visits. There will be a one-time warning, but after that, they face the possible suspension of licenses to serve food. A Kentucky couple is now under house arrest after one of them did not sign self-quarantine documents after testing positive for COVID-19. After Elizabeth Linscott chose not to sign the documents from the county health officials, the sheriff's department paid her and her husband a visit. She and her husband were ordered to wear ankle monitors that would notify law enforcement if they traveled more than 200 feet. We'll be right back after the break. All right, check it out. This right here is a QR code. If you missed any of our top stories, just point your phone's camera at the square and you'll be able to find it online. We've been trying to explain this to Gino. He still doesn't quite get it, but we'll get there, right? All right, and we're back here at 6 on NBC Palm Springs. See you then.